Well, we've got something a bit different lined up based on our source material.
Yeah, that's right. It's kind of interesting. We're looking at insights about another show, this podcast called Next Gen AI Lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And this source also pulls in details from a 2025 Internet Trends report that show apparently talks about.
Exactly. So, yeah, our mission here is to unpack all that for you. We want to understand what this Next Gen AI Lifestyle show is sort of trying to do,
Right.
and look at the key trends it seems to highlight from that report, and pull out the really important bits for you about the internet and AI right now, according to these documents anyway.
So it's like a look within a look.
Yeah.
What this source says about how another source talks about AI and digital life.
Yeah, filtered through these specific 2025 trends. We're just cutting through it to get you the main takeaways.
Okay.
We're going to walk you through what really stood out to us, stuff about the show itself, its hosts apparently, and some pretty striking stats from that trend report. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it. So first up, what does our source material actually say about this Next Gen AI Lifestyle podcast?
Well, it paints it as a sort of weekly guide, right? Aimed at helping people, live smarter with AI.
Practical stuff.
Very practical, yeah. The source says it focuses on things like using AI to plan a trip or automate your emails, that kind of thing.
Okay, so definitely not aimed at like AI researchers or hardcore techies, more for.
Yeah, the source mentions AI newbies and productivity nerds. So people looking for useful tips.
Makes sense. The goal seems to be making tech useful, maybe even a bit fun, less intimidating.
And what's kind of fascinating is how much detail the source gives about the hosts of that show, Jamie Lee and Alex Rivera.
Oh, yeah. It really lays out their supposed styles. It seems like a very deliberate contrast they're going for.
Totally. So Jamie Lee is described as having this efficient, skeptical, witty voice.
Skeptical, right. And her background fits that former tech journalist, now freelance.
Mm-hmm. So the source paints her as practical, maybe a bit wary of the usual tech hype.
Yeah, and her speaking style, according to this, is all bullet points, punchlines, challenges the overpromises.
Uses rhetorical questions, dry sarcasm, that kind of vibe.
You can almost hear it with the signature phrases the source lists, like, I'll believe it when I see it.
Or, that's cute, but does it actually save time? That's pretty direct.
And if it takes 10 minutes to learn, I'm out. Very focused on, like, immediate practical value.
Right, cutting through the noise. But then you've got the other host, Alex Rivera.
Completely different description. Friendly, optimistic, engaging tone.
His background's different, too. AI educator, futurist, so he's naturally presented as more enthusiastic.
Yeah, excited about the new stuff, supportive of innovation. That definitely comes across.
And his style. The source says he uses metaphors, analogies, breaks down the tech for beginners.
As humor, excitement. Tries to make it sound cool.
And his phrases capture that, right? This is a game changer.
Uh-huh. Or, let me show you how easy this is. And we're living in the future already. Big contrast to Jamie.
Definitely. And our source basically says this contrast is the point. It literally says Jamie debates Alex.
Ah, so it's the classic skeptic versus enthusiast setup. Creates a bit of tension, maybe?
Yeah. Keeps it lively, pulls out different viewpoints. The source even mentions their voice guidelines stress this interaction and consistency.
So these distinct personas are, like, baked into the show's concept.
Interesting. Okay, so that gives us a feel for the show they're describing. But let's get into the actual content mentioned, those trends from the 2025 report.
Right, because this is where it gets pretty eye-opening. The first big thing is just how much time we're spending online.
Yeah, this one jumped out. The source says average online time exceeds time spent sleeping now.
Wow. Let's pause on that. More time online than asleep.
The source puts a number on it, nearly 8 hours a day. And it's not static, up 12% just this year.
A 12% jump in 1 year. That's huge. And it describes phones as, emotional support devices.
Yeah. I mean, what does that say about our relationship with tech? It's not just a tool anymore, is it?
No, it sounds much deeper. Almost like a dependency, maybe.
Could be. And speaking of deep integration, the report apparently talks about a big shift in e-commerce.
Right. The source mentions moving away from, all the metaverse talk towards something called immersive commerce.
Which isn't just, buying stuff online. That's been around forever. But the scale, e-commerce is now 24% of global retail.
A quarter of all retail. That's massive.
Yeah.
And the trend they describe is how social media platforms are turning into basically shopping malls.
Yeah, content-driven commerce. So the post you see, the video, the influencer talking, that leads directly to a sale right there in the app.
Exactly. You don't always have to click away to a separate shop. The shop is kind of everywhere in your feed.
Every post is a potential checkout. Wild.
And then there's AI. The source calls generative AI the new computing platform. That's a pretty bold statement.
It is, but you can see why. It's popping up everywhere, changing how we interact with computers, create things.
The examples given are writing emails, editing resumes.
Yeah, and that slightly weird one about maybe ghostwriting therapist notes.
Okay.
Yeah, let's maybe park that one. But the point is, it's becoming common, especially for younger people. The source says 41% of Gen Z use AI tools weekly.
41%. For homework, writing poems, it's just becoming a standard part of their digital life.
Definitely. And the report also flags some big shifts in where digital growth is happening globally.
Right. India is now leading in the number of internet users. That's huge.
And Africa is tagged as the fastest growing mobile market. So the digital world map is really changing.
You can't ignore Gen Alpha either, the kids born totally digital. Source says they're already online over 4 hours a day.
4 hours plus. And there was that striking comment, almost a throwaway line, saying their Roblox economy might outpace some small countries.
Whoa, okay, that puts a scale on it. The economic power brewing in those digital native spaces.
Yeah, so loads of growth, loads of change. But the source material makes it clear the report doesn't just focus on the positives, it covers the downsides too. Right, the emerging challenges like trust in tech is apparently declining.
People feeling watched, tracked, getting tired of ads everywhere. That constant feeling of being monitored is understandably making people uneasy.
Then there's the whole deep fake issue, AI-generated fakes getting more sophisticated.
Yeah, the analogy in the source was pretty vivid, wasn't it? Like Photoshop had a baby with a conspiracy theory.
Huh. Yeah, that captures it. The mix of manipulated reality and the potential for it to spread bad information. It's unsettling.
Definitely. And finally, the report, or at least how the source presents it, links more scrolling time with mental health problems.
Specifically pointing to Gen Z feeling that impact. So more passive scrolling seems tied to, mental health struggles for that group.
Which creates a bit of a worrying cycle, right? If phones are emotional support devices, but also contributing to stress.
Yeah, that's problematic. So how does the source wrap this all up? There was some advice mentioned.
Yeah, it attributes this quote to Mary Meeker, the famous internet trends analyst. Evolve or become digital dust. Pretty stark.
Digital dust.
Okay.
So what does evolving mean in this context, according to the source?
Mostly for businesses, it seems. They absolutely have to adapt to AI, get on board with social commerce, and focus intensely on user experience. Speed matters.
If your site or app is slow, people are just gone instantly.
Exactly. But it's not all doom and gloom. The source also frames it as a time of huge opportunity.
Right, for creativity, for reinvention, and for side hustles, interestingly.
Yeah, like that slightly absurd example they threw in Naptuk, an AI that makes TikToks while you sleep.
Okay, yeah, maybe a bit silly, but it makes the point, doesn't it? Using these new tools and platforms in creative, maybe automated ways outside the 9 to 5.
It's about finding new ways to, I guess, create value or just engage in this super connected AI-driven world we're in.
So if we pull it all together, what have we got? We got this glimpse into another show, Next Gen AI Lifestyle, and their kind of skeptic versus enthusiast dynamic for talking about AI.
And we dug into these really striking 2025 internet trends they apparently cover. The sheer amount of screen time, for one.
Yeah, the way e-commerce is morphing inside social media.
AI becoming this fundamental new platform.
Big global shifts in who's online and where the growth is.
And, of course, the very real challenges around trust, deep fakes, and the mental health side of it all.
It really paints a picture of rapid change, doesn't it?
It definitely does, which maybe leads us and you listening with a big question to chew on.
Go on.
Well, how are all these massive shifts, the way we shop, the way we create with AI, the sheer time online, how might they fundamentally change what we even mean by productivity or learning or maybe even just being connected with each other, in the really near future?
That's a good one. Think about that 8-hour average. How does that actually play out in your life?
Have you noticed shopping becoming part of your feed? Are you bumping into AI tools more often?
Because the future these trends describe, it isn't really future anymore, is it? It's kind of already unfolding.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Understanding this stuff feels pretty key to just navigating it all.
Okay. Lots to think about there. That's all we have time for in this deep dive. Thanks for tuning in.
We'll catch you next time.